guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in a new duology that takes place within the Grishaverse, which is the universe that Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, and the original Grisha trilogy takes place in. So this takes place after all of those books. If you have not read any other Grisha books, I do not recommend watching this video because this is spoiler-free for this, but it might not be for other books in the series, in the universe. So I will link my reviews for the other books in the universe on the screen. So this takes place following the events of Crooked Kingdom, and it is actually three perspectives: Nikolai, Zoya, who we met in the original Grisha trilogy, and Nina, who we met in the Six of Crows duology. And I finally feel vindicated with this book because people always ask me, should you read the Grisha trilogy before reading Six of Crows, blah blah blah. Technically, you don't have to for Six of Crows, but I've always said that for Crooked Kingdom, I think that you should, even though Leigh has always said, you don't need to, they can stand alone, blah blah blah, because she wants book sales, like, she's a human, whatever. This book, you really can't read without having read the Grisha trilogy. Honestly, there's too much connection there, so now I'm like, go read the Grisha trilogy. So first off, with that in mind, let me talk about the world building. I actually recently reread the first two books in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and now having read this shortly after that, I see how much this world has expanded and how much she's expanding it even within this book. She goes into a lot more detail about like customs and the religion and stuff like that, so we get more of that. Also, I just really love how many references there are to the original Grisha trilogy. Like, there's so much in here, and my heart just like expanded 3 sizes every time there was a mention of Alina or like anyone or anything from the original trilogy. There's a lot more of the original trilogy stuff in here than there is like Six of Crows references, although they're in here, but it's really original trilogy heavy, which is good for me. I will say though that I don't think there was quite enough world building in appropriate places. There's a lot of like political stuff kind of missing because there's a lot more political stuff going on with all of the different nations because we are focused on Nikolai as a ruler, and I feel like there's these introductions happening so slowly in the series. Like, we know about these nations, we've been to some of them, but we still don't know all the political, like, how all that ties in, and we're getting it now, and it kind of feels like so late in the universe to be getting it, and I don't quite care about some of it, and some of it's pretty important to the plot at times, and I'm like, but I don't care because I don't really know enough, and I feel like we're not getting enough of that fleshed out, the political side of things, because we're getting much more like magic and stuff, which is what the series has always really focused on, but then you're wanting me to care about some of these political things, and I don't. Next, let me talk about the characters. Like I said, we follow the 3 main perspectives, and we get some other characters that you'd be familiar with from the other books in the series, and then in the universe and stuff like that. For this being called, like, the Nikolai duology, I was pretty shocked about how much the other 2 characters are focused on and not Nikolai. Honestly, at times this felt more like a Zoya book than anything else, but at the same time, like, it doesn't feel like a Nikolai duology because we aren't solely focusing on him. Not that we necessarily need, I don't know, I just felt like there was going to be more of a focus on him than there was, and I feel like some of the other plot points and POVs kind of pulled away from him when this is really supposed to be his series. I did really enjoy Zoya's point of view. I didn't love Nina's, actually. I kind of felt like Nina's was pushed in there. She has a different POV and a different plot thing that is very separate from Nikolai and Zoya, and so it just felt very, like, forced to me. I didn't really feel like Nina needed to be there most of the time, and I feel like I wasn't as pulled to her as I was when she was with the Dregs and with, like, the Six of Crows crew. She just felt kind of out of place here for me, and I found her chapters really dragged for me. There's also some teased romance in here in a couple different places, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about either of those. I'm still on the fence about them. We'll see what happens with the second book. Additionally, I felt like the antagonists in here, very weak. Very weak. And when you consider the fact that the Darkling is one of the best antagonists in any series, like, ever, in my opinion, to have these antagonists that were really mediocre, in my opinion, and, like, not very fleshed out, and a lot of different things that I will go into more in my discussion, because I obviously will be doing a discussion on this book. But yeah, I was very surprised by some of the character things going on, some of the character dynamics, and who we were choosing to focus on and not focus on. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the plot. Like I've mentioned in both the world building and the characters, I felt like the plot was kind of scattered around a bit with these multiple POVs that we had. There was 2 different kind of plots happening that I thought were going to converge a bit more and really didn't. And I just found myself, like, at times being a little bored. I still kept picking the book up because it's Grisha and I love it, but it didn't quite meet my expectations plot-wise, and it felt like we were getting bogged down in in certain areas and moving too quickly in other areas. There were definitely certain plot points that needed more time and more like gravity to them that I feel like we didn't get, and that was disappointing. And it also makes me feel like certain POVs could have been chopped down or not included, and we would have had more time for some of those more significant plot things that I would have liked to see more of. Overall, I just felt like the pacing was a little weird in this. This felt a little more rushed, and it just didn't flow like all of her other books have. So I am intrigued about a lot of the things that did happen in this book, but I found myself not caring as much as I thought I was going to because we didn't get enough time with certain things. So because of that, this book was kind of disappointing to me. I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm still going to continue the series. I still love the Grisha universe, but it just wasn't really what I was hoping and expecting. Like I mentioned, I will be doing a spoilery discussion on this book. Not a gripe because I didn't hate it, a discussion on this book, so you can hear more of my in-depth thoughts there. So comment down below and let me know what you thought of King of Scars. I know you guys are going to have a lot of opinions. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!